How's it going, everybody? This is Soul Time Productions. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to my channel. Uh, Today we're going to be talking about the Department of Corrections, the Sheriff's Department, and the Police Department having gangs within their divisions, both from LA County and Orange County. These gangs have certain names and monikers that they use to identify themselves. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of a few of them. You know, like the Executioners. You know, the East LA. I think they're called the Banditos. There's the Linwood Vikings. Different type of gangs, right? Found within the departments. You know, we're supposed to assume that these cops, right? These cops that we pay out of our tax dollar, they're supposed to be protecting our communities, making them safer for the kids and the moral citizens, right? But just like any branch of power, there's going to be corruption. And these gangs within these departments, in my opinion, happen to be some of the most dangerous type of organized crime, right? Because it's organized crime at the end of the day. The things they do is organized crime. You know, they'll victimize, a prisoner, and they all will cover their tracks. They'll all set up a story. They'll give a story, a statement, like they like to say, right, to the news. Or in some instances, they try not to give a statement at all. And I find it funny, obviously, these departments and gangs are very hypocritical. And yeah, so today we're going to be talking about that. I found a few articles. Today we're going to start off with Santa Ana Police Department. I found an article I found very interesting, and it goes like this, right? So it says officers in an exclusive Santa Ana Police Department unit who share gang-like skull tattoos have been the subject to complaints of alleged misconduct, both off and on duty, but face no discipline. According to police records and the source within the department, 5 officers in the Major Enforcement Team, MET, which operates much like a police SWAT unit, were accused of verbally harassing 2 teenage girls and groping one of them on the buttocks in 2020 at Culichi Town restaurant, according to police records. Police body cam footage and the source in a 2021 incident, Santa Ana City Council member Jonathan Hernandez reported seeing an off-duty MET officer and another man holding a struggling woman in a parking lot in downtown Santa Ana, groping her breast and telling her chill and shut up. According to police records, other witnesses said they only saw the off-duty Met officer holding his wife back from an intoxicated woman who was trying to fight her outside the Copper Door restaurant. In a separate instance, earlier this year, a Santa Ana police officer sent an email to the City of Santa Ana Human Resources Manager Jason Motzik, City Manager Christine Ridge, and City Attorney Sonia Carvalho, alleging he had been harassed. He claimed Chief David Valentin, who set up the Met unit and the founding member of the Met unit, had targeted him for criticizing the chief. In all 3 cases, Santa Ana PD concluded no wrongdoing had occurred and no officers were disciplined, according to police records and the source. And it's like what I say, they're not gonna go out there and prosecute their gang members. They're not gonna prosecute their own gang members. Why? It makes them look bad. Why would they want to prosecute one of their own when they're doing sexual misconduct? Of course they're gonna cover their tracks. They always do. Santa Ana Police Department initially refused to release records of these incidents in response to a Public Records Act request. After this reporter filed a lawsuit against the city for refusing to produce the records, Santa Ana released police body camera footage, 911 call audio, and written reports on the incidents as required by the law. Santa Ana Police Department spokesperson Maria Lopez did not respond to a request for comment on the MET officers' behavior or the police department's investigations of these incidents. She stated, in regards to your questions, the Public Records Act does not require the city or department to respond to questions. However, if I can assist you in locating a record that is not exempt, please feel free to contact me. Met officers share matching black skull tattoos with Ace of Spades. Most officers in the Met unit have matching black tattoos on their forearms, calves, and upper arms. The source said the tattoo displays 040s above a skull with an Ace of Spades on its forehead and the word MET below the skull. The number 040 is a reference to Met's police radio code. Historically, the Ace of Spades playing card was a token of death used in the Vietnam War by American soldiers. U.S. soldiers would drop Ace of Spades cards, which were mass-produced for the Army, on dead Vietnamese soldiers. Los Angeles County Sheriff's gang Jump Out Boys, which is another gang, right? The Jump Out Boys also used the Ace of Spades in their paraphernalia. Jump Out Boys. Ridiculous name. The MET tattoo shared by members also carry challenge coin-like tokens. According to the source, a challenge coin is a small token or coin with an organization's name or slogan on it, typically given to members as a sign of recognition of status within an organization. The token is adorned on one side with an Ace of Spades decorated with a skull and number 31, a reference to SAPD's Orange County radio reference number. On the other side, the token reads Met and Odorant Dum Metuent. The phrase is slang for let them hate so long as they fear, right? Because that's what they love. Police officers, they like to make you fear. You know, you try to question their methods, and what do? They want to get in your face. They want to threaten you with arrest, you know. They want to threaten you with bogus charges, right? And most of the time, you know, you didn't break the law, but they want to push you like that. And they can, you know. I mean, let's be real. You know, you can't just demand a fight from a cop, right? They're going to want to use their power. So, new California law attempts to address police gangs. A new law authored by State Assembly member Mike Gibson attempts to update the penal code to address the long-standing problem of law enforcement members forming their own violent gangs. It was supported by Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva, who has promoted alleged deputy gang members. Section I-3670 now defines a police gang as a group of peace officers within a law enforcement agency who may identify themselves by a name and may be associated with an identifying symbol, including but not limited to matching tattoos, and who engage in a pattern of on-duty behavior that intentionally violates the law or fundamental principles of professional policing, including but not limited to excluding, harassing, or discriminating against any individual based on a protected category under federal or state administration laws, anti-discrimination laws, engaging in or promoting conduct that violates the rights of other employees or members of the public, violating agency policy, the persistent practice of unlawful detention or use of excessive force in circumstances where it is known to be unjustified, falsifying police reports, which they always do, fabricating or destroying evidence, which they always do, targeting persons for enforcement based solely on protected characteristics of those persons, theft, unauthorized use of alcohol, drugs on duty, unlawful or unauthorized protection of other members from disciplinary action, and retaliation against officers who threaten or interfere with the activities of the group. If an officer fits the description of a police gang member, they must hold those officers accountable through proportionate disciplinary measures when misconduct is proven, according to the penal code. The law only applies to on-duty conduct by police gangs and would not apply to the actions by the Met officers when they were off duty. Met unit includes officers from disbanded SWAT team. Oh, okay. Met unit includes officers from disbanded SWAT team. The Met team was created by Chief David Valentin on January 6, 2020, and currently has 11 members. It included Sergeant Oscar Lizardi and now retired Met Detective John Rodriguez, both from Strike Force, a SWAT team that operated in Santa Ana between 2005 and 2013. Rodriguez and Lizardi, both handpicked by Valentin at Met's inception, were tasked with selecting the rest of the Met team. According to the source, officially joining the Met team includes a normal testing process like any other department promotion. The source says instead, current Met members contact officers directly as a form of endorsement before testing into the unit. They know who they want to be part of the team, they said. Off-duty Met officers sexually assault a child. On August 9, 2020, two 15-year-old girls sat dining with their family at a Culichi Town restaurant in Santa Ana off Bristol Street. Off-duty Met members Sergeant Oscar Lizardi, Jonathan Perez, Doreen Buchanan, Jonathan McKee, and Mark Campi sat together a few tables away, according to the source. They had been invited there by the restaurant owner, who later stated in an interview captured on body-worn camera that the off-duty officers were having a good time, but were causing issues. According to 911 calls made by family members and other police reports, each time one of the girls got up to use the bathroom, one of the men would say to one of them, "Hey, I love you." The girl's father got up to tell the officers to stop harassing the girls, and the police officers began to argue. A Met member groped one of the children from behind and said, "Let's go," as she got up from her chair. According to her interview after the incident, the family also stated in their interviews that the men identified themselves as police officers, prompting them to dial 911 to report the incident. In the first of several moments of the audio of the calls, a family member reported that the Met officers were getting away and were across the street already. The officers involved in the Culichi Town incident have refused our request for comment. The video footage of the responding officers' body cam are heavily redacted, but viewing it raises questions about whether they conducted a thorough investigation of their fellow officers. The investigating officers turned off their body cameras when they talked to each other and stood at angles that did not allow the body cameras to record the family's cell phone footage of the members. According to the source and city records, the harassed family was never contacted after the night of the incident, and no Met members present were interviewed. Under Chief Robert Rodriguez, who had worked in the old SWAT unit with some of the other officers who went on to join Met, played a vital role in protecting the former SWAT off-duty Met members from investigation when he was the Internal Affairs Commander, according to the department's source. The Culichi Town incident has been an open secret within the department since it happened in August of 2020. According to the source, a photograph of the Met officers standing in front of the car with their faces blacked out has been circulating within the department anonymously with the caption, "Join our great team," and Culichi Town's logo below that. Met police officers allegedly protected by chief in off-duty fighting incident. On May 6, 2021, Santa Ana City Council member Jonathan Hernandez reported seeing two men, one of which he recognized as the off-duty Met detective John Rodriguez, holding a struggling woman, groping her breast and telling her to chill out and shut up in downtown Santa Ana on 3rd and Broadway. According to a police report, Hernandez, upon confronting the men, called Chief David Valentin and reported what he saw. Simultaneously, Rodriguez recognized Hernandez and left the area. The other men involved, who was not an officer, stayed with Hernandez, according to the anonymous source. Valentin first said that the off-duty detective was retired. Hernandez responded that he knew for a fact that the officer was not retired. The chief then changed his answer to say that the detective was retiring soon. According to a security guard who witnessed the incident, he also recognized the Met detective saying that he's known them for 10 years and did not see Rodriguez grow up into woman. You know, they're always going to cover the tracks, man. Following the SAPD investigation in the Copper Door incident, Detective Rodriguez was not disciplined in any way. Former Met Detective John Rodriguez, who was involved in the fighting incident downtown, said wrong number when we called him for a statement. After sending our questions via text, he said, "I don't know what you are talking about. Please stop harassing." Santa Ana police officer complained about harassment by Met officers and Chief Valentin. An SAPD corporal attempted to alert upper-level city management to alleged malfeasance by Met Sergeant Oscar Lizardi. In an email sent to City of Santa Ana management, Corporal Anthony Cardenal lays out the targeted harassment of other officers by the chief and Met. Cardinal states that Chief Valentin allows the Met Sergeant to act with impunity and that 3 different officers identified Sergeant Lizardi last summer as having intimidated them on behalf of Chief Valentin. The email also says Valentin launched an investigation against an officer who criticized the chief for authorizing the release of almost every SAPD's officer's official headshot photograph in response to a Public Records Act request last year. The investigation was framed in a way to make me sound guilty in order to justify Chief Valentin's prior actions, which are being investigated by Human Resources, and his decision to demote me, stated the corporal in his email. This reporter requested that those photographs to identify then Met Detective Rodriguez as one of the officers involved in the fighting incident outside the Copper Door restaurant after Valentina correctly claimed to Councilmember Hernandez that Rodriguez was retired at the time of the incident. It is important to note that the politically powerful labor union representing Santa Ana police officers, the Santa Ana Police Officers Association, sued the city, SAPD, and Valentin himself in a failed attempt to block the release of the officers' official headshots. After the Superior Court denied the union's effort to block disclosure of the headshots, the court granted the police union time to appeal, but the union dropped the case. Rodriguez earned a salary of $384,369, according to records from 2019, until he retired in November of 2021. 2 Met officers who were allegedly involved in the Culichi Town incident have also recently retired. Mark Campy has become a U.S. Marshal, and Doreen Buchanan is a patrol officer after having received a DUI. As more reports emerge about police gangs, legislators struggle to address the special version of state violence. AB 958 attempts to address the issue, but the lack of consequence for a chief who handpicks friends to investigate friends demonstrates how departments can skirt around the law. Despite SAPD motto, community first, that's bullshit, and mission statement promising the utmost professionalism and integrity, the department is choosing to break the law. And let's be real, man. If you're from Santa Ana, if you grew up in the city of Santa Ana like myself, man, you know they don't care about the community, right? They don't care about nothing but themselves. And the truth is, it's going to be hard to stop them, you know, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We need to stick together like a community and police ourselves, right? So now I'm going to be talking about LA County. There's an article that I found. It's called The LA County Sheriff's Deputy Gang Crisis. I had always heard stories. Don't go to East Los Angeles Station. Rosa Gonzalez, a deputy with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, told me, "You're a hard worker. Go somewhere else. East LA is different from all the other stations." But Gonzalez, who is Mexican American and was raised in what she calls the inner city, was drawn to East Los Angeles, a historically Latino neighborhood that has long contended with gang violence. "It's a way to get back to my own community," she said. In 2011, after finishing the academy and the mandatory turn through the custody division, Gonzalez reported for training at East LA. She was one of the 3 female trainees, working alongside approximately 100 men. She was naive at first, she said, but a detective told her, "Just pay attention, you'll find out who's really in charge." Officially, stations are run by captains with the help of an operations staff. At East LA, Gonzalez discovered there was a shadow government, a secretive group of sheriff deputies known as the Banditos. Deputy gangs or subgroups with names like the Grim Reapers, the Regulators, and the Vikings have plagued the sheriff's department for 50 years. Members have been accused of serious breaches of department policy and violations of constitutional rights, of terrorizing the public and harassing their fellow deputies, and of retaliating against whistleblowers. They don't like that. They don't like whistleblowers. According to a lawsuit filed by 8 East LA deputies and the ACLU, the Banditos gang controlled the East Los Angeles station like inmates running a prison yard. Leaders known as shot callers determined deputies' hours, promotions, even days off. On patrol, they operated in the gray areas of law enforcement. Gonzalez said that they perpetuated the code of silence, the culture of the ghetto gunslingers. She added, "What makes East LA so unique is it's embedded within the Hispanic machismo culture and the Hispanic street gangs. The mark of a bandito is a secret numbered tattoo, a skeleton wearing a thick mustache, a bandolier, and a sombrero, and brandishing a smoking gun. Deputy gang tattoos are typically on the leg or the ankle. Families of those killed by deputies allege that the deputies were chasing ink, trying to earn a tattoo, and a recent expose on trying to earn a tattoo. Yeah, because they're trying to earn that tattoo. In a recent expose on CBS News, anonymous whistleblowers at East LA Station said, if you get in a shooting, that's a definite brownie point with the Banditos. Gonzalez was assigned a training officer, Noel Lopez, who went by Crook, and who she understood was a Bandito. Lopez did not respond to requests for comment. Her TO, her daddy, and station lingo, he was meant to scrutinize her every decision, to make sure that she internalized protocols. When somebody would ask me to do something, anything, a menial task or favor, I would first have to run it with my TO, Gonzalez said. He'd say, who asked you? I would tell him the name and he'd say, okay, no. They don't matter. Don't do it. If I say certain names, okay, yeah. You learn real quick that the tail wags the dog at the station. Gonzalez's connection to a bandito offered a measure of protection. I was never first forced to do any type of sexual activities to get off training, but you will hear that rumor, she said. I talked to a female who got hit across the head during training, who had all her things thrown out, who was called a bitch constantly. While Gonzalez was at the station, a woman named Guadalupe Lopez was training under Eric Valdez, an alleged bandito known as the Godfather of East LA. Valdez could not be reached for comment. She filed a lawsuit in 2014 claiming that his cronies had subjected her to relentless sexual harassment and innuendo. She was told that the female deputies performed oral sex on banditos and was cautioned to submit if she wanted to complete her training. When she refused, her suit alleged the banditos began a campaign of physical intimidation, and after she complained, they left a dead rat by her car. The county settled for $1.5 million. Because Gonzalez was older, in her 30s with kids, she was known affectionately around the station as Mama G. But her TO indicated that she wasn't necessarily safe from harassment. She said he warned her about another training officer, an alleged bandito, named Rafael Munoz. Years earlier, Munoz had been arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon, accused of pointing a gun at his wife while kneeling on the hood of the car she was in. The department had fired him, but after he was found not guilty, brought him back on. Lopez told me, hey, if you're ever called by Munoz or any of the other guys, if they ever ask you, hey, can you bring beer? Or hey, can you come over? Don't do it, Gonzalez said. Tell them you're busy, you can't, you have a family. When Munoz did eventually call and ask her to bring beer, she begged off. That's crazy. They got their little fucking schemes and shit. Gonzalez managed to evade the Banditos again. When Valdez and another alleged member, Manny Navarro, summoned her to meet at a donut shop and asked her to join them on the early shift, Gonzalez knew that the early shift, a crew of wee hour hunters who roamed the streets looking for troublemakers, was dominated by Banditos. Pretending to be flattered, she demurred. Later, Gonzalez was herself put in charge of a trainee. This, she believes, is what turned the Banditos against her. Her supervisors and the station captain had approved the decision. But remember, they're not really in charge, she said. It's Valdez. And I never got his approval. I never would have, because of my gender. And they already had someone in mind for it, one of their male prospects. In a lawsuit that Gonzalez filed in 2015, she claims that a sergeant who admitted under oath to being a tattooed bandito removed her trainee and threatened to sabotage her career if she objected. She filed the grievance and then punishment began. Fellow deputies, she alleges, refused to provide her with backup. Once responding alone to a burglary at a grocery store, she radioed for help repeatedly, but no one came to her aid. I went from being a shining star at East Los Angeles Station to less than 24 hours later walking down the hall and people just turning their heads and looking the other way, Gonzalez said. When they're retaliating against you, you become like the plague. You're untouchable. Superiors determined that her life was in danger and transferred her to another station. The county settled Gonzalez's lawsuit for $1 million, and she eventually became a sergeant. But dismayingly, neither her, Sue, nor Guadalupe Lopez weakened the Banditos. Gonzalez allowed herself a measure of hope in 2018. When Alex Villanueva won the elections for sheriff, he had come up at East LA Station. But he was an outsider to the deputy gang culture, and he had championed a message of reform. Throughout the campaign, he told deputies, help is on the way. Villanueva's victory was an upset. It had been a century since an incumbent sheriff was unseated, and even longer since a Democrat had won the office. He positioned himself as a whistleblower, emphasizing his history of holding the sheriff's department to account. The incumbent, Jim McDonald, was a Republican turned independent who had spent most of his career with the LAPD. Mark Gonzalez, the chair of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, told me that Villanueva met all his members' criteria. Everyone felt he was thinking and preaching the word of the party, he said. He was about reforming the sheriff's department, cleaning house, raising standards, doing community policing, and restoring trust. The sheriff's department polices unincorporated LA County, 42 contract cities, and the country's largest jail system, with more than 15,000 employees and an annual budget of $3.6 billion. The sheriff runs one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the United States. The deputy gangs were an embarrassment and increasingly a matter of urgent concern to civilian leadership. LA is ground zero of all things gang. The street gangs themselves, gang injunctions, punitive gang enforcement, and law enforcement gangs. Sean Kennedy, a former public defender who teaches law and chairs the civilian oversight, punitive gang enforcement, and law enforcement gangs. Sean Kennedy, a former public defender who teaches law and chairs the Civilian Oversight Commission, a county watchdog organization, told me, according to a report that Kennedy and his students published last year, roughly 1 deputy and 6 is in a gang. Damn. 1 deputy and 6 is in a gang. That's a lot. The problem is so deeply entrenched that it may exceed any sheriff's capacity to eradicate it if he even wanted to. In 2020, Villanueva announced a policy of zero tolerance on deputy cliques, and he also supported legislation that prohibits gang and law enforcement agencies. But Kennedy and other critics say the department has made no systematic attempt to determine which of its members have tattoos and has yet to fire anyone for connection to a deputy gang. Instead, according to people who know the department well, the Banditos are thriving under Villanueva. The East LA deputy's lawsuit claims that Villanueva put an alleged bandito in charge of the department's communications office. He was subsequently promoted to captain of the Homicide Bureau and then made a commander of the Detective Division. Manny Navarro, who had invited Rosa Gonzalez onto the early shift, became Villanueva's driver. The department says any suggestion that Navarro and the commander are gang members is false and defamatory. Villanueva's time in office has been marked by a string of scandals and lawsuits implicating him and his wife Vivian, a retired deputy, in abuses of power. He has responded by attacking whistleblowers and refusing to submit oversight. The state attorney general opened a review of Villanueva's pattern of investigating critics and rivals. The Los Angeles County Democratic Party and the local chapter of the ACLU have called on him to resign. Andres de Kwan, a human rights attorney with the ACLU, told me that Villanueva, who campaigned as a reformer, really pulled a bait and switch. As a frequent guest on Tucker Carlson's Fox News show, railing against the woke left, Villanueva has been called the Donald Trump of LA this year. He is running for a re-election in a crowded field. 8 opponents, all claiming that they will address deputy gangs. The primary is on June 7th. In March, I went to see Villanueva at his office on the 8th floor of the Hall of Justice in downtown Los Angeles. Villanueva, who is part Polish and part Puerto Rican, has light eyes and slick back salt and peppered hair. He wore a corduroy jacket, a chambray shirt, pressed jeans, no tie. He walks stiffly with a slight limp from old injuries. For years he was a cycling and CrossFit buff, and he and Vivian have co-owned the gym. We sat down in his conference room just after lunch. Leaning back in his chair, he took a swig from a bottle of Dr. Pepper and told me that an era of tattooed deputies dominating the station was over. They want to combine 50 years of department history into my 3 years, and now suddenly I'm responsible for something that was happening when I was in 2nd grade, he said. There are no deputy gangs in his department, Villanueva insisted. A gang is 3 or more people united with a common name or tattoo of any kind of things who engage in criminal acts, he said. According to him, the Banditos are not a gang, because it has not been demonstrated in court that they have engaged in criminal activity on the group's behalf. You can allege all you want, he said, but we want to operate in the world of what you can prove or not prove. There is no correlation between wearing a deputy tattoo and bad behavior, he argued. People engage in misconduct without the tattoo, and people have the tattoo and they walk on water. Because they have a tattoo, are they a gang member? Well, I don't know, but I mean, if you really think about it, if you're tatted up and a gang unit sees you, best believe he's gonna think you're a gang member, right? A few weeks earlier, Villanueva has sent the county board of supervisors, 5 elected officials who control the county budget, a cease and desist letter, demanding that they stop using the term deputy gangs. As the first fluently Spanish-speaking Latino sheriff in over 100 years, who supervises a majority Latino workforce, I hope you can see the blatant racial interference your conscious bias displays every time you choose to attack our department with this derogatory term, he wrote. East LA Station, a low-slung mid-century structure in Belvedere Park, faces a lake populated with ducks and migrating birds. The oldest station in the county, it is also home to the earliest known tattoo clique, the Little Red Devils. The Red Devils started in the 1970s when East LA deputies, most of them white men, called the station Fort Apache. After the John Wayne movie about a mostly white cavalry unit at war with Native Americans. It was a period marked by civil unrest and police violence. During a particularly heated protest, a journalist named Ruben Salazar was fatally struck by a tear gas canister fired by a deputy. Hoping to ease tension, the sheriff ordered East LA deputies to adopt a low profile and instruction they resented. These ideas East LA station as an outpost in enemy territory, defended by seething subversive deputies, soon took graphic form. The words Fort Apache were laid in tile on the station floor, along with the image of a helmet sitting on a boot. And the motto, siempre una patada en los pantalones. Always a kick in the pants. According to Sean Kennedy of the Civilian Oversight Commission, the ethos of East LA Station is steeped in the us against them narrative. The dynamic has persisted even as the demographics of the station personnel has shifted from majority white to Latino. During my meeting with Villanueva, he invited me to see his private office. It was decorated with East LA memorabilia. A trophy case displayed a Fort Apache mug and a statue of a boot and helmet. Villanueva's predecessor had banned references to Fort Apache, which infuriated deputies who saw the symbol as an expression of station pride. Villanueva seized on this conflict and shortly before winning the election was photographed wearing a Fort Apache t-shirt. Since then, the symbol has been added to a station door and a Fort Apache flag has flown from the flagpole outside. As Villanueva showed me framed photographs of station gatherings and reunions, he said that the place held deep significance for him. This is where I cut my teeth in patrol, he told me. There's a lot of rich history there. By the time he got to East LA in 1991, the Red Devils were in decline and the new group, the Cavemen, had taken shape. A retired deputy who worked at the station in the 90s told me that back then the clique was relatively innocuous, a social club with a cartoonish mascot. The Caveman was the station's symbol, he said. They had a big one in the briefing room. There were a few guys with tattoos. It was a popularity contest more than anything else. Some of the guys earned tattoos because they bought beer for everybody. Villanueva, who wore thick glasses and had a studious demeanor, was known as a flecha derecha, a flecha derecha, a straight arrow. In his first position at inmate reception, he helped get smoking banned in county jails. He pushed the envelope, a former insider told me. He takes stuff on regardless of the consequences. According to the investigative website Knock LA, Villanueva once said publicly that back in the 90s, we were all cavemen. But contemporaries say he was a wannabe, definitely not tattoo material. He's a goober, a goofy goober. The retired East LA deputy told me he wasn't hated or anything. They just kind of laughed at him. In the aftermath of the LA riots, Villanueva announced that he was running for sheriff, but didn't pursue it. As part of the Clinton administration's community policing initiatives, he became a bicycle cop. Assigned to a large housing project, he saw it as an opportunity to engage. Get out of the car, he told me. Talk to people, business owners, residents, understand the context in which we enforce the law. In 1993, Villanueva met his wife, Vivian, at East LA Station. One day he told me he was alone on patrol. I see a van rush into a parking lot following another car. And then guys with beards jump out with guns and they're in civvies. I pull in behind them, draw my gun, and then I recognize one of them. Oh, it's the narco crew. They're supposed to tell us the dispatch, but they just kind of forgot that part. Vivian, it turned out, was on a ride along with the cops. A student at Cal State LA, she had grown up a few blocks from the station and was volunteering with the narcotics unit. She tells them, hey, who's that nerd with the glasses? He's going to ruin our operation, Villanueva recalled. Of course, no one told her that's your future husband. They were married in 1997. Villanueva has a son, Jared, from a previous marriage. He and Vivian don't have children. They rescue Labradors. He calls her Sweet Pea. According to several deputies, Vivian suffered from her husband's failure to gain acceptance at the station. A deputy who worked with Alex Villanueva told me she always wanted to be East LA. That bravado, we're here doing the Lord's work, everyone be damned. But throughout his career, he never got the attention he was seeking from them. Neither did she. That deputy, like others I spoke to, I requested anonymity for fear of retaliation. Vivian retired from the department in 2018, never having been promoted above the rank of deputy. The former insider said she felt once people knew she was married to Alex, she had no chance. As Villanueva sought to advance, he earned a doctorate in public administration, writing a dissertation that addressed under-presentation of Latinos in the upper ranks, he told me. The department was the ultimate good old boys club. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have, how well you did on the test. I was the living proof. Give me a quick minute. I gotta take off my hat. In 2005, Villanueva sued the department, claiming that he was being passed over because of his race. I smoked every promotional exam and I could not get promoted to save my life, he said. The county eventually settled with him and he made lieutenant, but he went no further. He became sheriff, having never run a station or served in an executive role. He told the press, in quote, that's one job they forgot to safeguard against. Villanueva entered politics idealistic, largely friendless and naive. The sheriff and Vivian did not have a following. A mid-career deputy told me they didn't leave a footprint of relationships with their coworkers. When he announced his candidacy, standing outside East LA Station, the former insider told me the joke was that there were more ducks than reporters. The East LA deputies were dismissive to Eli Vera, our former advisor to Villanueva, who is now running against him. Said the deputies from that station and the deputies that he worked with wouldn't even throw him a fundraiser. They had no respect for him. And that's crazy, because a lot of these guys, they join these sheriff gangs and they commit crimes, they victimize people, we can't have that in our community, right? We can't have gangsters with badges running around trying to victimize their communities, exploit their jobs, and just form a destructive cycle. Like a lot of the times, many gangs turn violent. People turn violent with cops because of that bad cop. It's crazy to think that there's gangs everywhere, in the police departments, in the government, secret societies, street gangs, cartels. We have the human desire to be in groups for some reason, right? And for some reason, only they're allowed to do what they do. Some of the crimes these officers commit, they didn't get no punishment from it. And that's all for today. I just wanted to shed some light on a few of the police gangs that run LA, that run Orange County. Gonna be dropping more videos regarding more interesting topics. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe my channel. Once again, this is Soul Town Production, bringing you that real shit and not some bullshit, right? Let's move forward, my people. Stay up.